Hi there. I know this may not be the best light on my face, but I loved doing this video just as the sun is setting over the water off of our pier. And I didn't do a Freedom Friday video, but I'm going to do a Freedom Sunday video just because I want to be in touch and do kind of an impromptu one since I'm about to get in the water too before the sun goes down completely. So what I wanted to share is how much I'm noticing about, do we really ever have to force ourselves to do things we're not comfortable doing? And this is going to be kind of a circuitous route I'm going to take to talk about this so that we start to first have to understand that the reactions we're having when we're scared or when we're upset or angry are not necessarily triggered by the other person. They're triggered by our thinking. And of course we've talked about that a lot, and a lot of people have plenty of evidence of that from questioning their thinking. But I had such a good example this week of it when one of my clients, who was doing some really amazing deep work and questioning some things that had been hard for a while, noticed that when she thought about doing this one thing she wants to do, when we talked about changes she could make in her life to go in a direction that addresses some of those fears, and she explained a level of anxiety that was going on behind one of the things, and she mentioned, "My heart is racing just talking about it." And it's such clear evidence that she was not actually doing that thing, and there was nothing going on except she and I sitting there talking, and she feels very safe with me, and it was such clear evidence that it was the thought of doing it, the image in her head. And we have, I guess we have plenty of research that shows that our bodies react to the images in our heads in much the same way as if the thing was actually happening. So it's really important to notice how things are an image in your head rather than actually happening to you, and how you can be in a really good space and shift into a space of great reactivity in your body when you start believing a thought. Not necessarily just a future fearful projection like that, which she realized later she could successively desensitize, possibly. But even when we think about the way our relationship to someone is, when we feel like a victim of their behavior, when we portray them in a way that is so far from who we want them to be, it really affects us as if that is really who they are, as if that's the only truth. That's why I talk so much about polarities, because you get way over in one corner believing that, and that's why what we're doing is so very helpful, because it knocks out the polarities by finding out that the opposite is as true or truer, and then your mind doesn't know what it can hold on to. It just knocks out that emotional charge. It neutralizes it when you're able to find those polar opposites and realize that maybe that's even more true than the one that you were worrying about. So what I want to say about not ever having to force yourself to do things in this world that we're creating for ourselves, this world of self-solidarity where you become the curious, compassionate caretaker of the littlest parts of you. When you are that, you are the one who takes you by the hand and walks you across that street and says it's going to be okay, or even picks you up and holds you. I have a friend whose grandchild is afraid of those hand dryers in the bathrooms, and actually my daughter was afraid of those automatic toilet flush things, and they weren't until, I mean, they were afraid of them until they weren't. And when we see that the same is true for ourselves, when we have that level of compassion that we would have for a child, we can see that, wait a minute, I just have not evolved to this place yet. I deserve my love and attention. I deserve to slow the situation way down, break it down into small increments, and question what is it I'm really fearing? And sometimes just questioning it is enough, but other times you might want to actually walk yourself through the learning steps, the action steps of, okay, what is the first thing that I'm afraid of? Can I do that thing? No. Okay, break it down smaller. What would be the beginning of doing that thing? And start to not force yourself. Okay, the beginning of that thing is still too scary. What's the fear? What do I honestly believe is going to happen if I do that? And give the thinking some help. It's phenomenal how much things then turn up at the right time. There's an email that I sent out today to a group of people that I thought I was going to send it last Thursday. And of course there was some preliminary work to do that just kept coming out not right. But part of it was I just wasn't clear. I didn't feel comfortable sending it. And I woke up this morning feeling completely comfortable sending it. So even though it went later, I have also learned to trust that that's going to be the perfect timing. That all the things that happened right up until something that happened with my one of my team and I, right before I sent it, we got an email that helped clarify the wording of that email that I was going to send. Couldn't have happened a moment sooner than I sent it, and we were so comfortable and happy, and so many things fell into place. And I find that's the way life is. If we don't beat ourselves up for what we can't do or when we can't do it, and trust that when we do it, it's going to be perfect. And if we find ourselves not doing it, to attend to the reasons we're not doing it. I don't know if any of you remember that life coaching show called Starting Over with Rhonda Britton and Jan Van Sant. So lots of times I quote to people all the self-help books I used to read. Rhonda Britton wrote Fearless Living and also Change Your Life in 30 Days. And she's got, anyways, the wheel of fear and the wheel of something else, freedom. And you sort of chart yourself on this wheel. And in a way, it's a lot like what we do, only again, the turning around of what we do is even more powerful, because basically they're kind of observing, where are you at when you believe that? And where are you at when you believe that? And where are you at when you believe that? And the way that the beliefs all kind of stack on top of each other and create fear. So she talks about when there is something you want to do differently, first of all, she says, ask yourself, is it a stretch, a risk, or a die? Do I feel like I'm just stretching myself and that's something I really want to do? I'm comfortable. I want to do this thing enough that I'm willing to stretch beyond my comfort zone. Or does it feel like a risk, like you actually might lose or give up something that you really care about as a result of having taken this risk, and you're really a little scared, your heart is racing, or some other story or consequence you believe makes it risky for you. Or sometimes you're willing enough to make this change to do what's called a die. You feel like you're gonna die if you do this thing, that your thoughts are telling you, no, we don't do that. I can't do that. That's not me. Or this will happen if I do that. And one of the things she says is that the only way to build confidence is to take risks. So when you take those risks, remember, you get to decide. Maybe it's just not a good day and you're like, no, I don't want to do that today. I want to stay in my same old place, and that's where I need to be. Doing that is honoring that little part of you where you say, it's okay, sweetie, it's okay. I mean, I'm really starting to do that more and more now, where I realize something is just off and I'm just not ready, and I'll take an hour or two and tune into what it is that does feel comfortable. What do I need to do right now? And trust that the rest will get done at the perfect time. And then when I come back, I can face it, or I can take that risk. But mostly I don't even really have to push myself, because I've dealt with the thinking that's scaring me. But sometimes you do want to walk through those things. They're new behaviors. Even when you have questioned the thinking, new things are emerging as you evolve yourself. So, pay attention to whether it's a stretch, a risk, or a die. And remember, it's not a world anymore where you have to force yourself and steamroll over those parts of you and do things that you don't feel good about or comfortable doing. So take care. I'm about to get in that water and swim down toward the sunset. Love you guys. Bye.